A very good morning to all my dear friends. I hope you all are doing good. This is Prashant Mawani and I welcome all of you to StudyIQ. Dear friends, before we move ahead, please allow me to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses for different exams like UPSC, Bank, SSC and other government exams. May it be of state level or national level, StudyIQ offers pen drive and tablet courses which are designed by the best faculties of our country. Dear friends, it will help you a lot with your preparation. So if you haven't got it, I recommend you to get it as soon as possible. If you want to know more about it, all you have to do is check out StudyIQ.com, and on our website you will also find chat support just in case if you have any question or queries or doubts regarding it, or you can give us a call on this numbers as well. Dear friends, the first editorial that we have today, and today we have many important articles that are published in the Hindu newspaper, so we will take all of them. Of course, no doubt we'll add values to these things as well. Now the first one is about the pursuit of growth. Now before moving ahead, I would like to remind you that yesterday I told you how this infusing capital will help, and see, this is the thing, many news item that we take, right? Of course we start every day with our editorial and articles analysis, but you also know that by the end of this, or one portion you can say of this discussion pertains to discussing important news. And those news that are taken on board are not news just to fill the gap. They are well important news. As you can see that if you are following this series of the Hindu analysis, then you would have observed this thing that the news that we discuss becomes most of the time, right, we find them in form of articles and editorials. And this is the thing, right? If you can find a connection, then this will help you a lot, because what happens when we are discussing news, we discuss the basic things regarding it, and when we see this news turning into editorials and articles, then we build our knowledge. So the whole process of you can say from information, right, we head towards knowledge. This is the thing, and this will help you with all the exams, may it be UPSC or other national level exams or bank exam, etc., etc. Right, dear friends, so this one is about pursuit of growth. Now we know that central government has decided, the government of India has decided to infuse 2.11 lakh crore rupees, right? Infuse, that means it is going to provide 2.11 lakh crore rupees, which is not a small amount at all, as a fresh capital, right? Fresh capital. Now capital is a thing, if you're not from commerce background, then let me tell you that this capital, this infusion, it is basically money, right? Money coming in the hands of the bank, and this money will be utilized by the bank for giving away loans, right? This is the main business of bank. Loan is the core business of bank, you can say. It accepts deposits from customers, right, and then it gives away loan. It gives away money in terms of loan. So whatever the gap is in between, right, if it say for example if it makes 100 rupees, right, from interest, then this is their profit. Out of this profit they have to run their branches and ATMs and other things, internet and all these things, all these digital platform of transaction applications and net banking and other things, etc., etc. And we have to also understand that there are some norms as well. There are some terms and conditions. Of course there are some global standards as well. You might have heard about Basel, right? Basel 3. So there are some international standards as well. So they have to maintain all these things, no doubt. They have to be up to date with economy, and bank plays a very pivotal role, right, in any country, in any economy. So now this infusion of capital, and this is not going to happen all of the sudden. This money will come in small doses, you may say, and it will take 2 years for the complete infusion of this 2.11 lakh crore rupees. Now the thing is, capitalization, why banks are being provided with this much of capital, because we know that banks are saddled with bad loans. Bad loans means that you have given loan to someone, but that person or that company or that firm is not able to pay you back. Now there could be multiple reasons. One could be a sort of real reason, you can say, right? The projects are not going well, they are making losses, so they are not in a position to pay back the loan that they have taken from you, and many times they are not able to pay back. They are not able to give you interest as well. They are not able to pay interest to the bank, and this turns this whole loan into a sort of non-performing asset, right? And here you find also a mention of, in this editorial, twin balance sheet. Now what is twin balance sheet problem? See, you have on one side in a balance sheet you have assets, and the other side you have liabilities, right? These are very basic things, but important for non-commerce background student. Now of course you can understand that assets are the things that that's your own property, like say for example your house, right, or the truck that belongs to your company, etc. And liabilities are the things that you have to pay back, right? You have taken money from your friend. If you have taken 100 rupees for your business, then you have to pay it back to your friend. So this is your liability, these are your assets. Now for a company, right, for say for example company A that has taken money, 100 rupees loan from a bank, for them it is a liability. But for a bank, if you see the bank's balance sheet, then we find that in its asset thing you will find here that it has given 100 rupees to A. The loan given to A is an asset for the bank, because it is going to bring more money, isn't it? It is going to add money, or it is going to earn something for the bank. So this is the thing. So when A is not able to pay back, so A has a balance sheet problem here, that his liability he is not able to pay back, and the bank's problem is that the asset is not going to come back soon, or it is not going to be productive, or the interest is not coming, etc, etc, etc. So this is the thing. This is called twin balance sheet problem. So the companies are also, their balance sheets are not good in shape, and the bank's balance sheets are not good in shape, and this is called twin balance sheet problem. And so this is the thing we have discussed yesterday. As you know that when the banks will have money, then of course I will just for a sake of revision I will repeat that when the banks will have money, right, if they have say 100 rupees, government is giving them 100 rupees as capital, then they would be able to give this 100 rupees as a loan, isn't it? When they give loan, then in cheaper rates, right? If they have money, then of course they will give it in at cheaper rates. Then the businesses will get this loan, or it will provide them a sort of kick, or you may say a push, to get loans from the bank at cheaper rates. If they get money at cheaper rates, then of course they will invest in the economy. When they invest, they will expand their business, or they will start a new business. And when they start a new business, they would require people, isn't it, to work for their business, and this will create jobs. And when jobs are created, people start having money, regular source of money, they will get regular income. When they have regular income, then they will spend that money as well. They will buy motorcycles, they will buy gold, they will buy toys and whatever, right? You can imagine this thing. So that's the whole work of this is called pursuit of. This is what it's all about. And RBI governor has also appreciated this move of government, but this is not the only reason, right? Bad debt or NPA, why we are in such a situation. If we see that, if we go to the basics, then we find that there are multiple issues as well with the banks, and they are, say for example, the way the top leaders of the banks are appointed, or were appointed earlier on. Then we know that there was a nexus between, or there is in fact even today as well, we see many cases that there is a nexus between the banks, then you have businesses, right, and then you have government. So when they all are working for each other, right, businesses, they will give money to the political parties so that they can come to they can win the election, etc., etc. When they come to power, then they place their own bureaucrats, and then they place their own people who will give loan at cheaper rates or huge amount of money to these businesses. So in this way, things used to work earlier on, and because these are some of the reasons why our banks are not performing that well. But this sort of things should change as well. That's basically everything. Moving on to another item, and this is about China. This is about Xi Jinping. Now the thing is, we know that recently Xi Jinping got another 5 years, right? He's going to be the leader of, or you can say the top man, right, of China for another 5 years. And we know how these things work. There is a party there in China, and out of that party you select 2,200 people. From there you select another small group, and finally you have a top group, right? It is known as Politburo, right? Politburo Standing Committee. This is the highest decision making body in China, right? It has 7 members, so you can say that this 7 members, or these 7 people, are the most powerful people in China. And of course you have Xi Jinping, one of them, and most of this people who are here in this Politburo Standing Committee are appointed by this Xi Jinping. They are handpicked by Xi Jinping. So the thing is, now as he's going to stay for another 5 years, and it was believed that he is going to be as powerful as Deng, but he is when you go back to the history of China, then you find that Mao Zedong was it was under his time when there was a sort of revolutionary era, you can say revolutionary era of China. And when you see this Deng's area, right, Deng Xiaoping, his reign, or when he was a leader, at that period could be termed as a sort of economic reform in China. Now the thing is, Deng used to say, right, his whole philosophy was that keep your head down. That means don't engage with anyone, don't engage in conflict with anyone, right? Be peaceful, keep your head down, and keep on working for your country, and make sure you achieve economic development and things like that. That was basically Deng's philosophy, right, or his way of working. But Xi Jinping, you can say he is best of both, right? When I say best of both, I mean to say that we know that Mao was a revolutionary, so he has some 50% of Mao in him and 50% of this Deng in him. And he, of course, his stand when it comes to when we talk about Deng, then he is for economic development. But when it comes to geopolitics, he is aggressive, right? Mr. Xi is aggressive, and another 5 years means he's going to be more aggressive. It is not going to be peaceful years as it is believed at present. That's what the media and all the experts are saying. But we have to also keep in mind that assertiveness or aggressiveness of China is not going to help. We can see that China is sharing borders with many countries here, right? You can see there are lots of countries here, and this is a question for you as well, right? This is a question. You have to give me the figure, right? Give me the figure. How many countries are there, right, with whom China is sharing its border? This is question number 1 for you. So what you have to do is you have to go through the map, right? You can either start clockwise. It is not difficult. It is just a small exercise. The reason why I am giving you this question is because if you understand this thing, then you will understand many things. Say, for example, BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. The other thing is that you will also understand geopolitics, and particularly when you talk about Asia, and questions on neighborhood first, and question on look east policy or foreign policy of India and Asia could be asked, right? So you should be, this whole region should be crystal clear in your mind. So when you will go through this whole exercise of highlighting the neighbors of China and providing a figure, that for that you have to spend enough time. You have to spend, I think, 10-15 minutes or more than that, depends at which level you are at present. So do this thing, and I'm sure this sort of exercise will help you a lot with your preparation and your overall understanding. Right, so what we were talking about is that as you can see, there are many countries with whom China is sharing its border. The other thing is that China's economy is export oriented economy. Right, so if the global economy scenario is not good, which we can see at present, of course it is picking up, but it is not as good as it used to be. So this impacts China. This is a problem for China. The other thing is that North Korea is a big worry for China, right? It is not only a worry for USA but for China as well. Then you have Japan and India shaking or coming together and countering China. So China has to face this thing as well. So assertiveness is not going to help. Then we know that USA is also against China on many things, and there are some internal party issues as well. So the best thing for Xi Jinping is, of course, to keep a fine balance, maintain good relationship with other countries, and maintain internal peace within his party as well. And the thing is, when I told you about BRI, you know that the way China is building roads and maritime, ancient Silk Route, right? You have roadways all here. So from here, China is building roads. Because one of the reason why you have is the hidden thing behind thing, or the background thing that, or you can say read between the line thing, is that export-driven economy of China, right? It is like providing a customer service. Nowadays we see that if you go to, say, for example, a restaurant, or if you buy something, then they will call you and they will deliver that things at your home. They will teach you how to do these things, etc., etc. So this is a way of doing it, because China's whole economy is more export oriented. It is building roads and ports, and so that it can easily supply the goods that are manufactured in China. So this is a sort of read between the lines for Belt and Road Initiative. I hope this will help you a lot in understanding this thing, right? So it is sort of customer service provided by China. Moving on to another item, and this one is again pertaining to India and China. We have talked about the main issue. I have clubbed these two editorials. One is editorial, and of course this one is article together, and this one is talking about Doklam. And again, if you go through it, you will find that India should not that India should not take China lightly because of the aggressiveness or the way Xi Jinping has been running the show in China. So they are going to resurrect, or you can say that they are going to flex their muscles, which China is very infamous for. We have talked about this area as well, isn't it? South China Sea. We know we have a good relationship with ASEAN countries as well. India has a very good relationship with ASEAN, and China is having border disputes with, you may say, generally speaking, most of its neighbor, with Japan, which is China's biggest trading partner. Right, beg your pardon, Japan's biggest trading partner is China. In fact, if you go through China, then you will find that China is somewhere around biggest trading partner of more than 120 countries of the world, right? So that's what you can understand the power of China. Then as well, China is having this sort of border issues, or you can say territorial disputes with many countries. We know that China is one of the biggest country in the world. If I'm not making mistake, then it is rank 4 in terms of land area. Then as well, it is having a sort of land dispute with one of the smallest country in the world, that is Bhutan, right? Isn't it? We know the situation that took place in Doklam, and the way it is aggressively building roads and other things, infrastructure on the border area, which is a matter of concern for India. India has to protect this area as well, because we have talked about this thing that you have this Siliguri corridor, or chicken's neck, right? If just in case, if in future we go for a war with China, then if China is here, then it can directly attack this area, and once it destroys this area, then it can take over our northeastern states. So this are the things that are discussed here, and we have of course added more value to the things that are written. When I say added more value, I mean to say we have added more dimensions, right? And here is Aksai Chin. This border, you should I'm sure when you study basic geography, you study about Himalayan range and things like that. At that point of time as well, you should try to club this thing. You should try to think about Himalaya, say for example you are studying Himalayan range in geography, then you should try to include these things, that how Himalaya is working as a natural border, how China is, or the way China is being aggressive here, what are the things that are going on in terms of geopolitics, etc., etc., right? So you should keep this thing in mind as well. And the way when we study this CPEC, China Pakistan Economic Corridor, then we know that China at one point of time talks about sovereignty, but when it comes to other countries' sovereignty, then it does not pay any sort of respect, because we know that this CPEC, China Pakistan Economic Corridor, is passing through this Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is of course part of our country, isn't it? So these are the things. Moving on to another item, and this is again pertaining to geopolitics, and it is about Mr. Trump and the new world disorder. So of course from the name itself you can say that it is going to have a sort of negative approach, or this one is about criticizing Mr. Trump, right? So let's see what it has got for us. Now Tillerson, who is in India at present, and on 18th October he gave out a speech, and his speech was more ambitious in scope. He talked about many things. He said that India and USA, both these countries are democracies, and together they will stand for each other, and in future they will fight together for rules-based order. And there are many countries, right, they are indicating when USA is speaking about rules-based order, then we know that it is talking about China, it is talking about Russia, and it is also talking about some other countries with which USA is not having that sort of cordial relationship. Now the thing is, on one side we see this sort of promises of global partnership and things like that, but on the other side we also see that Trump administration, or Mr. Trump's administration, has rejected this JCPOA, or Iran nuclear deal. We know that this deal is, we have talked about this, and now you know it very well, that it is not a deal that took place between Iran and USA. It is an international communities deal, isn't it? So USA stepping out of this thing is not good for the whole world. The other thing is that recently it has said that it is going to step out of UNESCO. This is not the first time, this is the second time in the history that USA is going to be out of UNESCO, and the reason it is saying is because of the way Iran and this whole sort of Palestinian thing, right? It was about Palestine, that UNESCO recognized Palestine, and this was not accepted by Israel, and Israel is an ally, old ally of USA, so USA took a sort of aggressive stand. Now the other thing is that why it is able to do these things, because first of all, USA provides somewhere around 50% of all the money, right, of all the funds, or you can say a huge amount of funds for the working of UNESCO. UNESCO comes from United States, so you can understand that when it is saying that it is going to step out of it, then it is a sort of you can say that a sort of warning for UNESCO that if you do not do what I say, then you are not going to get any money at all, right? So this is the thing. You can understand it very well, that if USA is providing huge amount of money, then it will of course expect UNESCO to do what is in favor of USA. Then the Paris Climate Agreement as well, we know it very well that USA is a very developed country. It has all the factories and many things in USA, isn't it? And it has been burning fossil fuels for the longest period of time, right? For the longest period of time. And it, in fact, this all developed countries that we see today, right, they are the countries who got industrialized completely, and they have all this machinery. If you see that a person in a developed country, he or she would be using more gadgets that would require energy. The cars they use, particularly in USA, you find a very you can say very powerful cars. When I say powerful, I mean to say that their engines are quite big. 5000 cc, 4000 cc car, they are no small car, isn't it? They drink, right, they sip huge amount of petrol. The mileage is not good, they emit lots of carbon and things like that. But these things are going on in USA for the longest period of time. But when it comes to paying money to the countries, developing countries, then the USA is saying that this thing is not something that will help USA. So it is stepping out of this Paris climate change. Then Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, same thing. North American free trade agreement between Canada, Mexico and USA. Again, it is the future is bleak, right? USA is not happy about this thing. Mr. Trump's administration is not happy about this thing. And when it comes to allies, South Korea, Japan and Germany, it has said that this sort of surplus trade, that means that this country is making money out of trade with USA, is not going to be helpful for USA, and it has threatened that it will cancel this sort of things. This will be not allowed. So these are the things that are going on at present, and the world might think that the world believes that the steps at present that the world order has been designed to America's advantage. That's what we think, isn't it? We think, or it is believed, that the whole system is designed so that America can rule over everyone. But Mr. Trump is saying that this is the way things are going on. It is not in favor of USA at all. And we know that for the longest period of time, if you can understand that UNESCO, right, UN, United Nations, so if this USA is providing huge amount of money to UNESCO, then you can also understand that when it comes to United Nations, when it comes to World Bank, this World Bank and IMF are post World War II, right after World War II, this groups where this bank and IMF came into existence. So the whole dominance was of a Western country here, particularly USA, and same thing applies to United Nations as well. So USA has been providing huge amount of money for the working of United Nations as well. The maximum money provided, or the lion's share in terms of capital and in terms of working of this World Bank and IMF is of USA. So the way these institutions work are also in favor of USA. All the things we know that United Nations will keep proliferation, and when USA attacks Iraq, then United Nations Security Council or UN is silent on it. It is not saying anything to USA. World Bank and IMF, they will give loans to countries like India, but the terms and conditions are tailored in such a way that it will open gates, or you can say open doors for American companies in our country, so that eventually they are giving you loan, they're earning interest out of it, and their companies are also making huge amount of money. So it is a sort of win-win situation for the World Bank and USA companies, but not for the countries, for developing countries. And recently Mr. Tillerson has also said that the countries that are tilting towards this USA, we should not provide them with loans. And the leaders like India, in India we repeatedly say that strong USA is going to help us a lot, and it has helped us. When we talk about nuclear suppliers group, it put pressure on China to allow our entry to NSG, and when there was a Kargil war at that point of time as well, it was a bit heavy on Pakistan. But there are some other areas as well, like when we did Pokhran in 1998, at that point of time USA was strong. It said that they are going to hunt us down and things like that, but when it became big because of some internal issues, we were able to escape this thing as well. So a very strong USA all the time is not going to be good. Many people say, that's what the opinion is of many experts. They say that a little bit of weaker USA will provide some space for India as well to become a global leader. But of course this whole retreat of USA should be gradual. A sudden stepping out of USA from world politics is going to create a vacuum, and China may fill this gap. And we know we have talked about China, so you can understand now. Going back to basics, this is about you can say about human resource. You can connect it with education and children, and this is important for your prelims, right? World Bank's World Development Report. If you find this sort of questions every year in your prelims examination, so just in case in your next prelims, if you find that which body or which organization brings out World Development Report, then remember it is World Bank. Now the new report is out, and on the page number 115 it talks about MRI scan that was conducted on 2 brains, right, of infants. So one was healthy, you can say normal, and the other one was stunted. Now this MRI has revealed some sort of you can say the things that we can get out of this MRI image or this study is that there is a huge difference between brain development of a child who is normal, who is not stunted, and a child who is stunted. You find that the child who is not stunted has a bit of denser and elaborate fabric tracts in his brain, his or her brain, and the one who is stunted is having a bit, is lacking in this thing. So this will of course impact his or her mental as well as physical development. The other thing is this report also talks, this report of World Bank and this article talks about 6 main points. The first is moral case for education. It is a sort of right-based approach, right? Everyone should have access to education, and it also talks about education as freedom. Then early childhood development, what it says that apart from, I'll just break it down for you, that it's not enough that you send your children to a good school, right? It may have all the facilities, but if you don't provide them a sort of healthy environment, when I say healthy, I mean to say healthy in terms of tender loving care, healthy in this in terms of nutrition and surrounding, right, cleanliness and all these things. If the children are lacking in this area, then their performance will go down. The other thing is that at present we are using lots of technology, and there is a talk going on that technology is all good, but it should build healthy relationship between teachers and the students, right? This is very important. The other thing is, we know the difference between, or the war that is going on between private and public schools. Of course, in our country, private schools are dominating the whole this education sector, which is not good at all, because we know that at the end of the day, private schools are for profit, and again they make huge amount of money because the salary they pay is not that much as well. The other thing is, our country is also facing, or the world in fact is facing, shortages of teacher, because teachers earlier, they used to be a very you can say a profession that was considered as of high reputation, right, with a considerable reputation. But nowadays we know that because of this private schools not paying that much, and quality criteria and things like that going down, so there is a sort of a lack of good teachers. When we talk about quality teachers, we are lacking these things. So we have to create environment in which we have we can improve the training of teacher, the professional development and things like that, and this will help a lot in human resource, right? It is not only about our country but for the whole world, because we are in the 21st century. We consider living in the best era possible for human beings, right? But then as well, we find 260 million children across the world who are not able to go to the school, which is very bad. The other thing, the other article, this is about robots. Now we know that automation and artificial intelligence are the things that are going up, you can say, or the trend is going up. We know countries like Japan, and there are other countries as well, that they have deployed many robots, right? So this is the thing, and this article talks about how in the history, if we go back to ancient Greek, then we find that 6 hours a day, that's that much work was the maximum work that you have to do. And in ancient Greek, there was a sort of 3 months festive season as well, so people used to have a sort of fine balance of work and play. And nowadays we know that 13-hour shift is something normal, and in urban areas you spend nearly 1 to 2 hours in traffic as well. So you are nearly spending 15 to 16 hours in this sort of environment, and this is one of the reasons why many people die early death, or you can say lots of diseases, stress and things that are taking place at present. Now what this article is talking about, of course, it's talking about future. It is saying that the money that we make, or if a company is deploying artificial intelligence, or if it is using robots to produce things, then the people who lose job because of the injection of this or infusion of robots, say for example this company is making 100 rupees profit, then this 100 rupees profit should be distributed with the people who have lost their jobs. And I would like to say that in future, right, there could be a time when robots would be doing all the things, isn't it? And we could have human beings could enjoy life itself, right? Because at present what happens is, see, your job, your career, everything is part of your life, right? There are other dimensions to the life as well. And it could it depends on each and every single individual how they see life, but we know it very well that if this whole circle is your life, then your career is a small circle within that. So it's not everything, but nowadays we know that things have changed. So it is not all bad. Of course we are going to see some sort of disturbances, many people are going to lose jobs and things like that, but we can always find a solution. We can use these things in our favor, we can deploy them, let them do all this agriculture and hard work and things like that, and we can make sure everyone is having access to food, education and other things. So this could be a world as well in future, but of course we have to wait and watch for that, isn't it? If we would be still there, we don't know. Moving on to being self-aware, this is about teaching our adolescents, or you can say teenagers. See, we train our teenagers to sit properly and dress properly when you know, now I'm sure that we have gone through this thing as well, like parents giving us some rupee to buy bread or milk or something, and their teachers how you should collect your change and things like that, right? If you ask for a bag, then you should be kind enough, use the words like please and thank you and all this sort of things, manners. When it comes to respecting elders, and when we are facing some problems with our education, then as well we get support from our parents and our relatives or the people who care about us, particularly when we are teenagers, isn't it? And when it comes to problems with friends and clashes within group circle, etc., at that point of time as well we get all this sort of good advices from our parents, which is not bad at all. But the thing is, this article talks about that we know that this is the age group, right? Teenage, when some from 12 to say for example 18, this is the time when our body and our mind is going through a sort of drastic change. And around the world we see that there is a lack of information or information provided to this group. We are lacking in it. We are not formally providing them education regarding sex education, right? And because of this things, we are facing, or the teenagers are facing, many sort of problems. In fact, nowadays even the teenagers go through depression and stress, which is a very strange thing. And I'm not talking about a normal stress, I'm talking about a sort of a severe depression here, right? So which is at this point of time they should be enjoying and running and doing all this sort of mental and physical exercises, but they are going through this sort of issues. So the thing is, we should have a sort of environment in which we provide them education regarding the things, particularly we should educate them in terms of sex. And it is not about promoting sex, but it is about informing them, making them educated enough, or you can say making them knowledgeable enough so that they can tackle the changes that are going through their body and mind. With this, their stress level will come down as well. They will be more productive. And the other issue is that I'm sure we know this thing, that when you are in this age, even if you are facing some problems, you don't know what to do, right? You don't know to whom to go to. You are afraid of your parents, you are afraid of your elders and things like that. And if we train them, then there are many issues that we can solve. So my second question today to you here is that such educations, right, or say for example sex education, right, can, if we impart sex education properly in a formal manner, if we provide a sort of good environment, can it lead us to, or can it you can say promote gender equality, right? Think about it, and let's see what we can get out of it. Now, moving on to news item, dear friends, we are again beaten by the clock, so please help yourself with it. There were, as I told you, that there were many articles, important articles, so we have discussed them in detail. So these are news items. Election dates are out in Gujarat. Model code of conduct applies. That means election commission is going to take over, roughly speaking, the whole administration of Gujarat. These are the details here. The other thing is that linking Aadhaar is going to be must. There is no way out. There is no escape at all. Everyone has to do it, but there is a sort of extension in deadline. USA's Rex Tillerson is here in India. We have talked about this particular item in detail. We know the common issues are terrorism and Pakistan. Then both are working together for development of Afghanistan. Indo-Pacific, they are talking about China here. And when it comes to North Korea, we know the issues going on with North Korea and USA of the nuclear threat. Bharatmala, this is well important one. Please, when you download this slide, do go through this thing, right? Bharatmala is going to be very important. Yesterday I told you that I gave you example of village A and village B, isn't it? Village A is connected with roads, village B is not. So you can naturally say that village A is going to be more developed. It is going to have more opportunity. Same thing applies to the districts as well. If at present, if we have only 300 districts, and remember districts are a sort of three-layer thing. You have a district, then you have talukas, and then you have lots and lots of villages, isn't it? So when one district gets connected, then you are taking this whole population as well with together. So this whole region will develop, and these two articles are pertaining to the first article regarding capital infusion that we talked about, right? It was printed in the business page of the Hindu. With this, dear friends, I end this discussion here. Remember, I have two questions for you. You have to think about it and then respond. Don't forget to check out StudyIQ.com for pen drive and tablet courses. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this lecture. If possible, do share it on your social networking site and other platform as well. This will help other students who don't know the things that we discuss here on StudyIQ platform. Dear friends, if you have learned something out of it, then please do not forget to give us your life. This will give us your like. I beg your pardon for the slip of tongue. Give us your like. This will encourage us. Of course, it will motivate us to keep on delivering this sort of quality stuff to you. Pass your valuable comments, and of course, I would wait for your valuable answers. With this, I end this discussion. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your studies. Let's keep our environment green and clean, dear friends. Jai Hind.